The position of Ishwara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas or the living entities being parts and parcels. One second. Of the Supreme Lord are also conscious. Do you understand these things? Are you able to understand this point? Are you not able to understand these points? In both situations, you are conscious. That is the point. My dear Logitech HD1080p camera, are you able to understand my class? So he cannot see. Neither he can understand, neither he cannot understand. This is the meaning of conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the Jiva, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Our biggest misfortune will be if we only run after unconscious objects. Only this much comment. That is the difference. And because if we keep on running after unconscious objects, we will become unconscious that we are conscious, that we are different from matter. Enjoying matter, the more we enjoy matter, the more we think that we are matter. And the more we become fearful. You remember the point of Abhinivesh? Fear of our sense objects being lost. Being absorbed in that conception that I am this body, and if my sense objects are lost, oh, what a pitiful situation for me. Being fearful of this. Make sense? Again and again, it pays a lot to control our senses. If we control our senses, we become detached from the desire for sense gratification, and there is no fear for death. And on this point also I would like to mention, there are three kinds of fearlessness. One is in mode of ignorance. Those who don't care, Are marenge to marenge. I mean, we die or we die, don't worry. The second is mode of passion, like of Kshatriyas. And third is in mode of goodness, who understand that we are soul with knowledge. Because of knowledge, they are fearless. So we have to develop the third kind of fearlessness. Turiya Avastha means transcendental stage. Yeah, that is the same thing. You do not feel, you feel transcendental to this body. You experience the happiness of Krishna consciousness. You experience Krishna. That is called Para Bhakti stage, pure Bhakti stage. And that will happen only at the stage of Bhava. So be careful of that. Why I focus so much on philosophy? Because this is not philosophy, this is truth. And if we are convinced of this, then we will be convinced to do the tapasya necessary to realize the truth. Does it make sense? I don't know how much you can understand my English in this regards, but it's a little philosophical. सत्य क्या है वह समझेंगे और सत्य को समझने के लिए जो तपस्या है उसको करने के लिए उद्यत रहेंगे. और नहीं तो लगेगा मेरे सर पे सब तपस्या क्यों डाल दी जा रही. अब सर कितनी बार इस बात को बोल रहा हूं. Because I'm seeing it so many times, not only in Nanda Shastram, to outside devotees who are preaching, they drop out because they don't hear. They don't hear, and that's why I think, why are these things being forced upon me? That is the difference. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called superior because the Jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the Jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. What does it mean? It means some people say, yes, now you are not supremely conscious, but you have to simply do some austerity and realize that you are supremely conscious. You are that. That's how they explain. But what is the understanding? That the living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. He can never become the Supreme Lord. You may have heard this a million of times, but why Prabhupada is reporting it again and again? Why is doing that? Because that is the root disease of the conditioned soul. He wants to become God. Now, philosophically, we may not like to or we may not want to become God, but psychologically, if we have a tendency to be a separate enjoyer, we want to be God. We want to be controller, we want to be enjoyer. And can you see in this world, please answer me, whenever there is an opportunity to be controller or enjoyer, we are very eager to do any kind of austerity. Have you not noticed this? So you can see that, and whenever there is an opportunity to become humble, we don't want to do any austerity. Isn't it? Nobody wants to become humble. Whole world is geared to to help, not help you, to train you to become a perfect controller, perfect enjoyer. And then by that we become a perfect fool. So this is a misleading theory. Do not think that Prabhupada is just staying in an air. This is the theory which is prevalent in almost all the text. Any text, so-called text, which is considered to be spiritual, will promise you that by yoga you can become God. You are not God now, but definitely you will become God. And that's why people are attracted. And Prabhupada always condemns it. It's not that by 15 minutes of yoga practice that you can become God, or even billions of lifetimes of austerity that you can become God. God does not have to do austerity to become God. And there are some rascals who say this, that Krishna, when he was bound by Kaliya, so he did not have strength. So that's why he closed his eyes and he did meditation, by which he got strength, by which he could kill Kaliya. He could come out of the wraps of Kaliya. Such kind of absurd explanations are being spoken. Isn't it so absurd? You ask him, if you were in the wraps, coils of Kaliya, what kind of meditation will you do by which you can actually come out of Kaliya? Where in Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned. That's why devotees very angry on such kind of stupid explanations which will completely bewilder the people. We are hearing Bhagavad Gita by mercy of Srila Prabhupada. That's why we are not in ignorance. Otherwise, outside people are complete ignorance about who Lord Krishna is. And because of that, they have to go to hell. And the leader also be like that. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. Whom he is talking about? Prabhupada is talking about the jiva. You are conscious, I am conscious, but we are not Krishna. We are not Krishna who is conscious of everybody. Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. You remember the example? The farmer is knowing his field, another farmer knows his field, but the king is knowing all the fields. And all the fields are belonging to the king only. Make sense? The distinction between the jiva and the ishwara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I was just quoting the 13th chapter. The Lord is Kshetragya, conscious, as is the living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all the bodies. Very easy? Yeah, okay. Because he lives in the heart of every living being. He is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. Why I highlighted this point? It's a very beautiful point. Krishna knows what I desire. Eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. Alone Krishna is fulfilling the desires of all living entities. So now if you desire Krishna, actually desire Krishna, I want to be Krishna conscious, then how much Krishna will be pleased by this point? That's why we should hear, so that somehow or other we should have a desire, I want to be Krishna conscious. Just like you hear, Krishna, he comes and he embraces Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj is submerged in a whole pool of ecstasy. He embraces Krishna and he forgets himself. So when we hear such things, will not there be a desire in our heart, when will that day come when I will also get the embrace of Krishna? This is not, please try to understand, we are not in a philosophical, not what to say, it's a mythical movement. It's a very, people don't understand it actually. That's why they leave Krishna consciousness. They don't understand this movement is there not simply to talk about God, but make us eligible to one day to be with God eternally. समझ में आ रहा है सुंदर माधव प्रभु आपको ये बात? Are you able to understand all the devotees present here? Are you able to understand the seriousness of this matter? I doubt. If you actually understand the potency, you know what that potency, where this aircraft of Krishna consciousness can take you eternally to the spiritual world, always be with Krishna. Can you? It's amazing. And if you understand this, how much we will be eager to share this knowledge with others. Nobody in the world knows about it. Leave alone talking how to reach to the spiritual world. There is no talk about it. You can search the YouTube. Very rarely anybody will talk about very explicitly. He may be ISKCON devotee only, because they don't know about spiritual world. And if they will know also, they may have just a speculation or a very light faith that spiritual world is there. Because Vaikuntha must be there, but I am trying to become a very big man in this material world. Then how will you go back to Vaikuntha? I don't know. Prabhupada says this point. You can understand in a moment, or you may not understand in billions of lifetimes. A simple point. I do not belong to here, this material world. I just simply, my only activity should be to serve Krishna and go back home. It is also explained. So what I said all these things, if by hearing all the Shastra, if we desire, I should become Krishna conscious, then Krishna is noting this point. Just like he's noticing all the material desires, he's noting this point also. I want to preach the message of Bhagavad Gita. But your desire, your strong desire has to be there. If there is no desire from our side, then Krishna will not empower, because we don't want. And if we want, then Krishna can empower us. Does it make sense? It may appear very simple points, but if we note them down, it can transform our life. It is simply a matter of desiring. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how can I become a pure devotee? What was the answer? Desire. So the whole training of a new devotee or whatever is to make him sincere. He should sincerely desire to be Krishna conscious. Does that make sense to you? And that is my sincere heart's desire, that anybody who I'm trying to give any sermon or preaching, I don't want to impress them. My only desire is that they should become sincere devotees of Krishna. We may have anarthas, and we have anarthas, but they're all superfluous. They're all external. They will all go away. Simply, if you sincerely keep on chanting Hare Krishna and hearing Bhagavad Gita, taking prasadam, these are all the rules and regulations of bhakti. We had one devotee, I remember, few months back, or maybe 1 year back. He once came. He was young. His name was, forgetting his name. And then he left, and then again came back, and again he left. And this time when he left his body. Now he's dead. What is his name? Rajiv, yeah. You see? So he was not, see, if he had to meet death, he could have stayed here. And if he would have left the body here, gone back to Godhead. So see, that's what I see. I'm seeing now from 12 years how people behave foolishly. Foolishly. Nothing, just to get being beaten by Maya. And the reason is that they don't hear. If you hear sufficiently, definitely some transformation have happened. We have heard this in the morning today. These are words of Srila Prabhupada and the words of the previous acharyas. And if you hear them again and again, we are sure to get transformed in the consciousness. Sure, 100%. It's not that we're not going to be transformed. A person who regularly reads Shastra, Prabhupada books, his thought process will be completely different from the person who does not read the books. And the person who's reading regularly, he will think also how this person can behave like this, how he can think like this. And he will also be surprised how he can think like this. Because your thought process, your consciousness is being transformed by the faith which is emanating from Srila Prabhupada. I will repeat this point. Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, if you read the creation of a Vaishnav, you are associating with him. This is not something my bhavana, my emotions. In Bhakti Sandarbha, it is very explicitly mentioned. If you read anyone's kriti, Anyone's literature, you are associating with him. So we are directly associating with Srila Prabhupada here. And that's why all over the world, people, when they read Prabhupada's books, actually regularly read, they become very sincere. Somehow their heart becomes transformed. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishwar, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. Is very clear? Ishwara sarvabhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantarunani maya. Krishna is giving, go there, do there, go there, go there. Nobody is sitting here by chance. You should always remember this point. So, okay. The living entity forgets what to do. I always give the example. I was in Indonesia one time. So I just woke up in the room and then I went to the bathroom. So instead of putting the toothpaste on my toothbrush, I put that shaving cream. And then suddenly a thought came to me, it is shaving cream. Then I realized even for toothpaste, all our normal activities, we are completely dependent on Krishna. Unfortunately, I did not put in my mouth. Fortunately, you see. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way. And then he's entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. Here, this is very, very important and very, very intricate. You see, since beginningless time, I have desire for sense gratification. This you understand? Okay. Don't ask me the cause. Beginningless time, I want to enjoy matter. Now, as soon as I say I want to enjoy matter, then Krishna facilitates or activates the material energy to facilitate my enjoyment. समझ में आ रहा है? खाली ऐसे बंदूक तेरे बैठे हैं. हाँ, समझ में ठीक. So now, then once I do that sense gratification, that desire for sense gratification becomes superimposed on my previous desire for sense gratification. Suppose, example, a very gross example, suppose a boy is born in a family which eats meat. Now, why he's born? Because his previous desire is like that, okay? Now, when he begins to eat meat, the desire to eat meat becomes superimposed on his consciousness. And Paramatma will not say anything, nothing, he just keep quiet. Unless he, you understand? So it's like a vicious cycle, which practically means is never going to stop. समझ पा रहे हैं? कभी रुकेगा नहीं. Because you had desire for enjoyment, now you're enjoying, and then again the desire becomes enforced. So only by association of devotees that we learn this is wrong, and by their mercy we become purified. Then we slowly understand what I should desire, or what should I do in spite, even if I don't desire to do that thing. Does it make sense to you? This is called tapasya. Knowing what is good for me by hearing from devotees, I will do what is good for me. I will not do what my mind desires. Are you able to understand? Then only we can break this chain of karma. That's how this karmic chain is built. I mean, like to, it's like one devotee give me some namkeen. Okay, so what I should do? First offer to Krishna. What does the mind say? First offer it to yourself. Mind will say, what is this? Let's try first. So nice. Oh, just like today. You may see grains, but you won't eat. So you see, the beginning of transcendental life is when we live life as per Shastra, transcendental Shastra. And that can only come in the association of devotees. Then we know how to break this chain of karma. समझ में आ रहा है? It's a very important point. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we take off and put on clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the action and reactions of his past activities. Is it understood how we are getting the reactions? When I do an activity, the reaction is the sanskar, the impression. And then from that impression, the desire to do that activity is again created. Now put it in a positive way, somehow or other somebody associates with devotees. And even if he goes to Maya, still that, like Rajiv, He left his body, but he will again come to Krishna consciousness. Because that sanskar of bhakti can never be destroyed by anything. See, this is the difficulty with me. I know this point that sanskar of bhakti cannot be destroyed. So from that point of view, I should be lenient. Anyhow, let him, he's doing some Hare Krishna. But from another point of view, I need to push devotees to practice Krishna consciousness nicely. So that they have nice sanskar of Krishna consciousness. So tell me, what should I choose? First option or second option? First option for me, second option for others. That is answer. Leniency, so answer from your side should be, isn't it? Prabhuji, when I make mistake, you should use the first option. When somebody else makes the mistake, you should do the second option. No? No. It's a duty of a senior superior, and it's your duty also that you become nice devotees, nice practicing devotees, so that and those who are under you, no matter where they leave the Krishna consciousness, you always be strict upon being good in sadhana, because that is good for them. Just like all the commandos in India are not made with leniency. They are able to help others only because they are trained very strictly. And that is expected during the training, that in the future they have to meet very difficult situations and they have to be trained. And it's not my words, Prabhupada will tell in Bhagavad Gita that bhakti rules have to be followed like a military. 16 rounds means 16 rounds, not 15.5 or 15.95. You understand my point? Please don't take me wrong if I keep on sleeping. What example I said before for future devotees? They should also sleep. I have heard from a devotee, I asked him, Prabhu, why are you sleeping? Prabhu, thoda to chalta hai. A little bit goes. I'm not talking to you. You're not a senior devotee, isn't it? And then we see, you see, if a person, it's my burning realization. When a person chants very nicely in the morning, his consciousness is transformed. He will behave in a completely different way. His view toward the world will change. It has to act. It has to, it must, it will, it surely. But if a person doesn't chant properly in the morning, hazy consciousness, he does not know what to do, spaced out. So I'm not criticizing. It's a vigyan, it's a vigyan kya bolte, science. You do something nicely, your consciousness will be nice. If you don't do nicely, hazy consciousness, you don't know what to do. Like this. And I've seen being heavy on this point, it has only helped the devotees. It has only helped the devotees. By chanting Hare Krishna, Mahaprabhu himself says all the anarthas will be destroyed. What he says? All the anarthas, everything will be destroyed. Mahaprabhu's statement. You don't believe my words. Sarva anarth nash. Naam sankirtan hoite sarva anarth nash. Sarva means everything. Everything will get destroyed. Please take it seriously. Krishna has invested all his energies in his holy names. How much energy we are investing in chanting those holy names? I'm not talking about 64. I'm not talking about 32. Prabhupada told 16. Put your full energy into it, full commitment, and then see the results. See how you're thinking. See how you're looking at the world. You will be able to live Bhagavad Gita. And that's what Krishna wants and Srila Prabhupada wants. Makes sense to you? These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and not insanity, insanity. Not insanity. Insanity means pagal. Insanity means he has sense and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. Why did we highlight this point? Unless we come to goodness, we do not understand or we are not able to understand what kind of activity will give me what kind of result. Will this activity bind me, or will this activity free me from the bondage? Are you now able to little bit understand how and which activity binds you and which activity liberates you? You see? And can you see that outside people are not able to see how simply eating bhoga, they are getting bound in this world? अरे इतना भी ज्ञान नहीं हुआ है क्या? हाँ भी नहीं बोल सकते जोर से. Isn't it? They cannot see, but you can see that simply by eating food which is not offered to Krishna, they're getting bound. So it's not a simple knowledge. So that's what Prabhupada says, when a person has to come in mode of goodness. And how you'll come to mode of goodness? By associating consciously with the mode of goodness. That's why we should wake up early. That's why we should hear Bhagavad Gita, should take prasadam, and then consciously, even if I don't like it, and that's what Krishna will tell in 14th chapter, in the beginning, the happiness in mode of goodness will be like poison. Yattad agre vishameva parinam amritopamam. But later on it will be like nectar. Atma buddhi prasadajam. It will give you happiness to your intelligence, to yourself. Tat sukham satvikam atma buddhi prasadajam. Like this. So it is not expected that the happiness or a mode of goodness will be appealing to me. समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या कह रहा हूं? It is natural, it is expected when my heart is filled with passion and ignorance that it will not accept or taste the mode of goodness. You are not able to understand the depth of this. Do not be surprised if you do not like a Krishna consciousness austerity in the beginning. That is expected. प्रभु जी मन नहीं लग रहा जब करने में. That is expected. Taste नहीं आ रहा लग रहा. Expected. Does it make sense to you? Tapasya itself means it is not meant to feel good for you. It will not feel good, it will be good. I think you can understand. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. What he has to do? He has to come in mode of goodness. Then he will understand what is good and what is bad, and then he will have the strength to act on what it is good for him. That's why please follow the morning program very strongly, very, very strongly. So then naturally mode of goodness will increase in the consciousness. Consequently, karma is not eternal. So you now understand, a living entity is bound because he does not know how to act, so he keeps on remaining bound. But when he, by association with devotees, understands which action will liberate him, which actions will bind him, and in this way comes to mode of goodness, and then he realizes what actions to be done, then he will only do those actions which will liberate him. And in that way, he will become free from the bondage of karma. And that's why karma, although is beginningless, but it is not endless, it can be ended. And how it can be ended, somebody has understood? By the, not going back to God is a result. I am saying, how will you go back to Godhead? By going back to Godhead is not the means. What is the means? By bhakti, by properly, this is the answer, natural answer. But what I'm trying to say was, by associating with devotees and trying to learn what are the actions which will bind me and what are the actions which are going to liberate me. It's very simple. If you are learning, if you had a disease, in jaundice you had, so the doctor told you, eat this, and you don't eat this, isn't it? And when you followed it, you, even if those things which you like to eat, like pakodas, you must be avoiding, and even some things which like rasgulla, which you do not like, you are taking it, yes, and then that's how you get cured. And if somebody asks why I should eat, why I should be like this, then okay, then suffer, then suffer. So that's why knowledge is very important. Only then we can properly execute tapasya. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishwar, Jiva, Prakriti, time and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. Should we stop here? Maybe. Okay. So we shall stop here. This much that is those. Now tomorrow, before starting the class, I'll ask you why karma is not eternal and how the living entity is bound by karma. I have explained this. Now don't tell me that it's out of course question. How the living entity remains bound by karma and how he'll become liberated. If you have not understood, then what is the point of this class? Please try to understand, I'm not giving this class to impress anyone. I just want to impress this point to that we must learn how to come out of the bondage of karma and learn what activities are good for me and what activities are liberating for my own good first. पहले खुद को ठीक करना है first. We must understand what is liberating and what is binding me first, and then we can instruct others. समझ रहे हैं ना? Okay, let us check in Zoom if there is some question. Second option, what is the meaning of second option? Oh, we said something. Okay. The second option means pushing the devotees. So I'll keep pushing. Okay, thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.